Hi, everyone. I am Rhonda Amstead, and I am the creator of My Career Design Studio and the founder of Be the Change Career Consulting. So I am here today to talk to you about one of the most effective tools in the Career Designer's Toolkit. And it is something that I call community building or partnership building, but it's typically known as networking. And basically, the reason why this is so important is because not only is networking the most effective way to get a job. In fact, well over 50% of people have found a job or multiple jobs in their lifetime through their network. But it's also a really effective way to make sure that you're getting the right job. And in order to be a strategic networker, there's some preparation that you need to do. And so I especially want to talk about this now to explore the different ways that we can network virtually. So many of us grew up with the concept of networking is shaking hands and being in conferences or meet and greets, and is done in person. And right now, obviously, those opportunities are really limited. However, virtual networking opens up basically the world of people. And so I want to explore ways that you can, number one, identify people to network with, but also to be strategic about it, to make sure that you're really setting yourself up for what you want to do. And so that's really what career design is about. It is about envisioning the future that is going to bring out your best, that is going to give you work-life balance, that is going to really help you identify how you can make your biggest contribution in this world. And so let's start by really understanding why networking, why community building, why developing relationships is so important in the job search. So first of all, the most effective way of getting an interview, which is, generally the most effective way of getting a job is to exceed in an interview, is to have someone in the organization where you're applying for a job to advocate for you. And by advocate, it could be something as easy as, hey, I've talked to this person. I think that they're worth bringing in for an interview. It doesn't have to be this person's the best thing since sliced bread. It just needs to be a recommendation to bring you in. And so in order to get that, you need to know people in the organization that you're applying for. That means basically, if you found a job through a job posting, that you're really racing against time to develop a relationship with someone so that they will advocate for you in that manner before the job closes. So that's why it's really useful when you're being strategic to take some steps back to understand how this whole process works and how you can use it to your benefit. So even though kind of the ultimate goal of networking is to have someone in an organization that you want to work at advocate for you, there are a ton of other benefits. And why this is so important for career design is because it helps you to get to reality check your dreams. So often when we're making a career transition, when we're thinking about something else that we want to do, we will think, so here's one of my dreams, right? And not something that I'm actively pursuing, but as a kid, I always wanted to be an acrobat in the circus. So as I became a more mature adult, then it was Cirque du Soleil because that looked like tons of fun. And So, okay, so I've got that in my mind. I want to work for Cirque du Soleil. I want to be an acrobat. If I just go from there to try to apply for a job there, I'm not going to get very far. And if by chance I do get hired, I might end up in a situation where it is nothing like I thought it would be. I've been in that situation myself. I'm sure plenty of people who are listening to this have also been in a situation where you got your dream job and realized, oh, the dream is gone. It has turned into something very, very different. You want to reality check your ideas before you put all that energy into getting a job that might end up not being the fit for you after all. So by talking to people who are doing that kind of work ahead of time, then you can ask them questions about things like work-life balance. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What's your best favorite part about your job? What kind of character traits does this job require someone to have? And by asking questions like that, you can see, is this a job that's a good fit for me? So that's one of the huge benefits of talking to people, of networking, of building your community as you are thinking about and designing your future. Then we go to a slightly deeper level to then find information about the organizations that you might want to work for. And so again, we often know some of the big names. So the Googles, Facebook, UN, United Nations, World Bank, whatever is the top in your industry. It's really useful to understand what is the organizational culture there. How are managers trained, and how do supervisors in general treat their employees? How does your supervisor treat you? And because your boss can make or break your job, and most people are not able to understand anything about their future boss until they get hired, until their future boss becomes their present boss. And you might not really know anything about the organization until you start working there. And again, once you get there, you might realize, not the greatest fit. So by talking to people who work at the organization that you think might be good for you, that gives you an opportunity to learn about culture and to see, is this as great as I think it might be? And so once you've got an understanding, okay, this is the kind of job that I want, this is the organization I want to work for, then over a series of conversations, you don't want to do your networking interviews just in one setting. Then you can start asking questions like, how can I best position myself for this job? What do you like to see on a person's resume? What kind of skill set is really important? Okay, you said that problem solving is something that's really important in this job. How can I best put that in my resume, in my LinkedIn profile, in my cover letter, in my application materials? You can really get the inside information about how to make sure that you can jump through those application hoops so that you are on the yes pile rather than the no, check you later pile. So, and the best people who might know that information are the people who've gotten hired, who are actually working there. So I want you to be thinking about the different ways, the different kinds of conversations to have with people. And also, it's really useful, like I mentioned before, people can give recommendations, can say, hey, I think this person would be really great. Here's another person that I think you should talk to. Here's another organization that might be a good fit for you. These people might actually be able to give you job leads even before they're posted. So over 70% of jobs in the United States that are filled are never posted. It's called the hidden job market. There's books written about how you can access it. And basically, it is through your network. And so if a company can legally hire a person without going through the job posting process, they'll probably do it because it is less time and less expense. They're not looking for the perfect employee. They're looking for the good enough employee with the least amount of time and energy to get that person. So if you are on someone's radar, if someone knows that you're looking for a specific kind of job and that comes up, then they're going to be really excited to bring you in and to talk to you, because that makes their life easier. So here's the other thing about networking. We often see it as we are asking people for a favor. I want you to start approaching it that you are have the possibility to be the answer to someone's prayers. Someone is looking for you, maybe not you by name, but the skill set that you have. And so you want to make it really easy for them to find you. And that is by putting yourself out there in the community that those people are in. All right. I mentioned community. One of the reasons why that is important is because the job search and the career design process can be incredibly lonely. So I want you to take the tools that you have to make it less so. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like using and talking about community building rather than networking, because networking has these connotations of work and maybe a net closing in on you. I mean, the word itself is not very warm and fuzzy. But when you are talking to people who are passionate about the same things that you are, that care about the same things you do, you feel less alone, they feel less alone. And that community, that connection that you have is something that when the opportunity is right, can then transition and translate into a job. So these are things that I think are really important to remember when you're thinking about transitioning, transforming your job into something new, is that this ultimately is a win-win. You get a job that you love, they get an employee that does does the work that they need done. And again, especially now, our lives are so isolated that having even connections over Zoom, over a phone, just hearing another human voice, feeling someone else's excitement about things, that engenders a sense of warmth and connection that is just a really powerful way to get into an organization or into a field. One other thing that I think is really useful, you want to start by tapping into the people that you already know and already know you. And they might not be the people to hire you, but they can be the people that know the people who know the people who would hire you. And so often it really is just a couple of levels beyond your immediate circle of the person who is looking for you. So start by asking people who you know and who know you, and be really clear about what you're looking for, and ask for recommendations of people to talk to. And so then there is also kind of the cold calling, the finding people that you don't know and that you don't know anybody who knows them. And often this gets really intimidating, but what is useful is to think about this as more of a treasure hunt than as cold calling. So again, we want to reframe it into something that's interesting, that's exciting, that's warm, that's energizing and engaging. Cold calling, not so much. Treasure hunting, a little bit more so. And the treasure that you're looking for are the people who like work, like networking, like making connections, like helping others. So about 20% of the population gets intrinsic joy from meeting someone new and being like, oh, I know someone you should talk to, and making that introduction. It is not a favor. It is not a burden. It is something that makes them feel good about themselves. And those are the people that are going to be your advocates and your best advocates, the people who naturally, innately enjoy doing that kind of work. How do you find those people? You basically reach out, say, this is what I'm looking for. And if they respond, then you know that you found them. So again, networking and this entire process often feels very intimidating. And so what we want to do, number one, is break it down into its small little steps that you can take, and also to reframe it so that when you are actually talking to people, you're enjoying the process. Okay, so when you are building your community as a part of your career design, you're going to be in one of several different stages. One is just kind of exploring the jobs that might be a good fit for you. So if you've gone through My Career Design Studio, then you've already identified your strengths. You have identified the things that you want, your career design essentials. What do you want in your job? You've prioritized them. And now that you know yourself and what you want out of the job, now you can start asking questions and getting information about what kind of jobs are the best fit for you. So during the career exploration phase, community building is super duper important. And again, like I mentioned before, it helps you to reality check what's really going on. So if you don't know what you want to do, then you're going to have different kinds of conversations with people than if you do know what you want to do. So so basically, I do want to share a few things. No, before I start sharing, let me just talk about the other places that you might be at. So you might be exploring different positions. So then you want to talk to people who are doing the different kinds of things that you think might be interesting for you. So what if you know what you want to do, but you don't know exactly who's hiring or what organization is going to be a good fit for you? So that's a different phase, and you're going to be asking different kinds of questions. And that's going to be more around, here's what I want to do. What kind of organizations that you know of would really benefit from hiring someone like me? And so then you're really looking for the where. So the first group is looking for the what, second group is looking for the where. And then the third group is really looking for the how, as in, how can I get a job at this particular organization? What jobs are there available? And so it's useful to get yourself very grounded in what you're looking for, because your conversations are going to be different. So let us say that you are looking for some information about the kinds of jobs that you want to do. So I want to show you. So for those of you who don't know My Career Design Studio, this is a career coaching program that I've developed that really walks people through every single aspect of the job search component, from figuring, identifying your strengths, figuring out what you want to do, to writing your resume, to practicing your interview skills, and to salary negotiations. And so it basically breaks down this fairly lengthy process or complex process into very simple steps, and they build on each other. And so as you're going through this, you're also building your virtual career mosaic. And but there's lots of different activities that can help you with the networking component. So let's go to the My Career Design section. And there is an activity called My Gap Analyses. And this is part of the career exploration. So you've identified some job titles that you think might be a good fit for you. And so if you go into edit information, this is a place where you can store what are the job requirements for being a teacher, for example. And so for this one, it's actually an environmental teacher, environmental studies teacher. And so if you're wondering why interpreting and describing complicated scientific information is on here, that is why. And so what you can do is find some job descriptions, some job postings, and then that allows you to identify what you already have. What are the things that you need to obtain? And then kind of brainstorm, how can I obtain these requirements? And then also to start keeping track of the questions that you have about the job. So it could be things like, okay, so I need to take a class on watershed science and equipment. Where can I take those classes? And so I can ask other teachers how they manage multiple school schedules. And so that might be one of the questions that you have. And so by doing the gap analyses for different jobs, you're starting to uncover not only the gaps in your experience, but also the questions that you might have. And then that can really start feeding into planning partner building conversations. So in My Career Design Studio, you're really using the metaphor of an artist, a mosaic artist, and that all artists have partners in their work. And just like, networking in communities, it's about finding partners. And so you'll see that the questions that you put into the gap analysis is automatically rolled into your questions for this particular job title. And so then this really gives you an agenda that you can use when you're talking to people and asking questions about the kinds of responsibilities. How would I get that? What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? And so as you're going through My Career Design Studio, you're also starting to build up the agenda, the structure that you would have when you're talking to people about is this job a good fit for me? So this is one really useful way of using My Career Design Studio to help you with your networking. Another thing that I just want to show you is on LinkedIn. And so I really see LinkedIn as a fabulous organizational and people database. A lot of people think of it as another job search tool, but there is so much information and data here that's really useful for the partnership building and the community building aspect of your career design. So let's say you want to be a data analyst. And if you go into people, then what you can do is start seeing who might be in your network that has data analyst as a job title. And these are people that you might want to connect with, reach out to, and ask for some time to learn more about what they do. And the great thing about searching for people is that you can also look for in locations. And you could also, if you know the kind of which organization you want to work for, then you can just either select that or put that in the search box. And so again, I found over 2,500 people in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area working for Deloitte or having Deloitte somewhere in their LinkedIn profile, and have data analysts there as well. So if 20% of the population are people who naturally enjoy talking and connecting with people, you're gonna find a few people from this list who will be like, sure, I would love to talk to you. So when you get to the treasure hunting phase of your network, of your community building process, this is one of the tools that you can use to do that. So the final thing that I want, that a lot of people ask me about, is how do I approach people that I don't know? So if you go into my career creation tools, there's an activity called My Approach to Potential Partners. And so although the initial instructions are pretty generic, if you click on your career coach avatar, then you've got some additional information about how you might want to do this. And so this gives you kind of best practices. So for example, if you're emailing someone or connecting to someone through LinkedIn, it should be 100 words or less. You don't need to mention jobs, because that's, if you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, they know it's got to be something job related. And if you've got a connection, such as an alumni connection, or you worked at the same organization, or you're part of the same similar group, just say, I found you on LinkedIn. I noticed that we both graduated from such and such a school, and I'm really interested in exploring my passion for data analytics. And I wanted to talk to some data analysts to see what path might be the best for me. Do you have 20 minutes in the next 2 weeks that we could set up over Zoom? My best days are X, Y, and Z, and I look forward to hearing from you. And that's pretty much it. And so what is useful in my Career Design Studio is that you can basically write up your concepts, your drafts. You can add multiple ones. And then when you're approaching someone, you can copy and paste from my Career Design Studio into LinkedIn or into email if you have their email address. And maybe you can, do a little, since we're talking about analytics, you can do a little A/B testing. You can, for 10 people, you can use one approach, and for another 10, you can use another approach and see if there's a difference in your respondents. And, but that's how you basically get this process started. So networking does not have to be in person. It does not have to be, it doesn't have to be intimidating, and you don't have to wait for the end of the pandemic to be able to network. And honestly, people are hungry now for someone new to talk to, for some kind of break in their schedule. And so take advantage of this time to be strategic in your community building process. And then please absolutely put yourself out there and ask for help, ask for favors. And the people that respond to you are going to be the ones that are most likely to take you to the next level. So I hope that this was really helpful to kind of break down this process, to make it less intimidating, to make it more viable. And the other thing that I just want to say is that work with your strengths. And so even though people tend to see networking as something that extroverted, people are good at, actually introverts can be wildly successful with building community, because they tend to listen and be really thoughtful with their questions. And so if you are extroverted and super friendly, lean into that. If you are reserved and more thoughtful or more analytical, lean into that as well. Realize that you don't have to become someone different to be successful at this process. So good luck to everybody. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions, if you have any ideas for other live streams that you would like to see. And otherwise, I really look forward to seeing the career design that you create.